Hello everybody. Today we are talking about buying a house when you also have a house to sell. My name is Heidi Knowlton and I'm a local real estate expert, and I give out the best tips and tricks when it comes to buying and selling real estate and also real estate investing. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you get notified each week when I put out a new video. So I'm going to give you 5 different options when it comes to buying and selling at the same time. It's not always straight across the board, sell my house and buy a new house. There are different things to think about, different options, different ways to go. The options are a little bit more creative and they're not things that typical people or realtors think about. So listen up, see which one's the best for you. Grab a pen and paper and take some notes. So here's the first one. It's buy a new construction house. When it comes to buying a new house, it's hard to get a seller right now to accept a sell contingency, which means usually when you're going to buy a new house, your house is also contingent upon you selling your house so that you can now qualify for the new house payment. So one way to go around this is to buy new construction, because usually builders are okay with you having a sell contingency. They know you're going to sell your house eventually, especially in this hot seller's market. So they're okay with taking an offer that is also contingent upon selling. And another reason new construction is a great idea is because they have a lot of inventory and most of it does not go on the MLS. So you don't have access to it unless you talk to a realtor or you talk to all the builders directly and find out exactly what they have. So you have a lot more options open to you when you look at new construction. Make sure you stay tuned to the very end, where I'm going to give my favorite tip and what I specialize in, and I do it every single day and my clients love it. Okay, another option that you may not have thought about is renting out your house after you close on your house. So for example, you would close on your house and then you would negotiate with the buyer of your house to stay there a little bit longer so that you have time to go find another house to buy. Lenders will usually approve this for about 60 days, so check with your lender to see what time frame they allow. But if you can rent back your house and live in it for another month or two while you still look for a new house to buy, this is a great way to be able to have some extra time and some cushion to find that next house for you to move into. Regarding payment for this, sometimes the buyer will let you stay there for free for 60 days, or sometimes they'll let you stay for free for 30 days. Really, you just want to negotiate with the buyer. Sometimes they'll want you to pay for that whole 60 days while you're living there. There's no set way to do this. Just talk with your buyer, talk with the realtors involved. They're really good at negotiating this. They do this all the time. So make sure you're getting advice from them on how to handle the rent back. But you do want to make sure that you have your rent back on paper and you have a deposit that you're probably going to have to give to the buyer, just like if you were renting a house normally. So just have that conversation, make sure it's all on paper, so that way that everyone is protected in this scenario. So here is a third option when it comes to buying and selling your house. Don't sell it. Not a lot of realtors are going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this because if it were me buying and selling, I would not sell my house. I would keep my house, hold it as a rental, and then go buy the next house. And if you're cash flowing on your house that you own first, so let's say you're cash flowing $500, $200, $800, whatever it is, you can either save that money and keep it in the bank, or you can use it to pay for part of your mortgage on your next house. And this is a great way to start real estate investing. That's a whole nother conversation. Reach out to me if you want to talk about that. But I would definitely say hold on to your house, rent it out, use that cash flow, and then help that pay for the next house, and you avoid having a sell contingency. If you go through this and you don't like it, let's say you don't like being a landlord, I hear that a lot, people just don't like managing rental property, you have 2 options there. First, you can hire a property manager. They're going to charge between 8 and 10%, but they're going to manage the rental for you, and you can just sit back and collect the cash flow. That is a really great option, and it's very stress-free. The second option is to later on sell your house. So let's say you've had your house rental for a year, 2 years, maybe 6 months, whatever it is, and you just don't like how it's going. You don't like your tenants, you just don't like managing it, whatever the case may be, then sell it at that time, and you can get your equity and do whatever you want with that. But that is another option. If you decide to do it this way, you will need to have a rental agreement on the house that you're keeping as a rental before you can close on the new rental house. So for example, let's say you're renting out your house for $1,000 a month. The lender needs to see that on paper that you're going to be collecting that income so that they use that to qualify you for your debt to income ratio. But they're going to take 75% of that $1,000 and count it towards income. So if it's $1,000 a month, they're going to only count $750 of that income, which is still great. That's a high number. So that's how they calculate the income of rentals. They take 75% of the monthly rent amount. So just be prepared for that. You will need to give a lease agreement to your lender before you can close, but it's absolutely doable. Reach out to me if you need help with this, or if you have any questions, I can elaborate more on that. Okay, so option number 4, this one is seller financing. So when you go to buy your next house, find a house that offers seller financing. What this does for you is it takes out all of the qualifying. You don't have to run credit. You don't have to verify income. They're not looking at debt to income ratios anymore. So you can go in, buy this house, seller financing, and they're not going to care about your house that you own right now, and they're not going to care if you sell it. They're not going to care if you rent it out. Seller financing is a really good option, especially if you have credit issues. The way seller financing is you have to have a large down payment, at least 10%, sometimes 20%, sometimes 30%. It just depends on the seller and what he wants. So you're going to put down a substantial down payment, and you're probably going to have just a little bit of a higher interest rate, maybe 1% higher. Again, the seller determines the terms. You can negotiate with the seller, go back and forth and see what works for both of you. But with seller financing, the reason that it's appealing to a seller is because if you don't pay on your house payment, you go into default, they get their house back. So the seller has their protection. The seller is definitely protected in case you don't pay your mortgage. Then the seller gets their house back. As a buyer, buyers are very much going to make their house payments because you have such a big down payment into this house that if you default, you lose all of that down payment. So keep that in mind. Seller financing is a popular thing to do. Lots of people do it. So typically seller financing is for short term. It can be for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. It's not usually for 30 years. So what happens in that case is, let's say you have a 5-year term of seller financing. When you approach the 5-year ending for your loan period, you would need to refinance your house into your name. So the loan will be written with the seller as a balloon payment at the end. But what that means is that you need to refinance it, get the house into your name, or you can sell it. And that's how you fulfill the contract. So don't think of it as at the end of 5 years, I now have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay off this house. No, you don't need to. You refinance it or you sell it. So here's a 5th option. So this is what I specialize in. I do this every day. I've helped lots of clients do this. It's find a house that's off market. Well, let me explain that first. That means that you're finding a house, or your realtor actually is finding a house that is not listed on the MLS. It's not a house that is openly listed for sale for the public to see. What I do is I find a house that's off market, and I do this. I've got 7 different ways I do this. People question me all the time, but I'm telling you, 30% of my deals every year are off market, and only my clients know about them. So I absolutely do this every single day. So I fish for these deals and I bring them to my clients and I say, hey, I've got this house that is off market. The seller wants to sell it. What do you think? And I give you all the information. You tell me yes or no. Do you want to see it or not? But the reason this is good is because you don't have all that competition. You don't have this buyer feeding frenzy on houses where there's 30, 40, 50 offers on a house, and you have to hope to be the lucky one and pay cash and pay 20% over the listing price. With an off-market house, that pretty much goes away. You might have one person you're competing against. Usually you have 0 people that you're competing against because it's not listed to the open public. But this is a really great, popular way, and it takes out the stress of the multiple offers and the feeding frenzy that happens on homes that are typically listed on the MLS. So I always get asked, where do you find these deals? Well, I have a list of them. I'm happy to share with you some of them. Just reach out to me, give me a call or email me. The next question I get is, why would a seller want to sell their house off market? And the reason is because having your house listed for sale is a pain in the butt. You've got people coming through your house every day, looking at all your stuff, touching everything. You have to have your house clean essentially 24/7 for showings. Not to mention, receiving 20 offers on a house is incredibly stressful. I see this all the time where sellers are so overwhelmed. They don't know which offer to pick. They're written different ways. You've got, buyers writing letters to you on how their family is so awesome. And then you can't decide and you're torn, and it's very stressful on a seller. So to eliminate that, I approach the seller saying, hey, I've got this buyer. They're interested in your house for, these reasons. This is why it would benefit you. Of course, you're still going to have to write a strong offer, because if you don't write a strong offer, they're most likely going to be listing it on the MLS to get a strong offer. So it doesn't take away the fact that you still need to come in very strong and write a really good offer, but you do eliminate a ton of the competition by getting a house off market. In all of these options, make sure you've got a strong realtor that is representing you so that they can do all the negotiating for you. They can do all the contracts, make sure everything is lined up correctly so that you have the most protection and that you have all the options available to you so that you can have the right path laid out for you and there won't be any hiccups hopefully for you. So this video has got 5 options when it comes to buying and selling to kind of help you think creatively and think outside the box, but that's not all I have. I do have 5 more options for buying and selling at the same time, and I'll be doing that video next. So watch out for that video, make sure you watch that one too. Once again, my name is Heidi. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you want to reach out to me for any reason, if you need more tips or have a specific scenario you want to chat about, all my information is down below in the description. Reach out anytime and I'll see you on the next video.